Okay, so a bit of introduction to the so-called course we are going through. So usually in Singapore, I'll teach this course. It's a basic kind of meditation course. So I come all the way here to give you all this course. So it's an 8-lesson course. So just nice, 8 days and then 8 lessons. So for this briefing is a bit of introduction. And the theme of the retreat actually is called the Way of the Dragon. Nothing to do with any martial arts, not Shaolin Kung Fu or anything. So actually, the idea came about because Brother Terence was asking me what to name for the retreat, and the question was asked to me like during Chinese New Year. So Chinese New Year, the dragon, then okay lah, then we have the dragon. So the idea is from this, the story of the Buddha after he got enlightened, then this Naga come and shelter the Buddha, right? Yeah. So some of the artists depict this Naga with 7 heads. If there any statue of it. Okay, maybe you might see. I do not know. To explore. So there's this Naga. The artists depict the Naga with 7 heads. So these 7 heads represent the 7 factors of awakening. So actually, the theme is more towards the 7 factors of awakening, not the dragon. Yeah. So it's just a symbolic representation. Okay, so anyway, the meditation objects that we kind of be using is this few. If you want to scan, you can scan the QR code. All the PowerPoint slides will be there of all the lesson plan will more or less be there. You can read through the outline. Those who want to scan can scan. So basically, 3 meditation objects, or at least 3 meditation objects. So the first one we might be introducing is the 4 sublime states. 4 sublime states. Same with this name of this monastery, Brahmaviharas. So we're actually doing this Brahmavihara meditation, and we'll be doing these impurities of the body. Pointer are not effective, but never mind. Okay. This impurities of the body meditation, and we have this breath meditation, and for each of these kind there's actually both the samatha and the vipassana aspect of it. So we will be kind of jumping both types of practices. Okay, but since you all have meditation background, maybe some of the terms are not too alien to you all. Okay, so for this so-called introduction, is just to kind of give you some settings so that you will know what to do for the rest of the day. So like the afternoon, there's like a self-practice time, correct, today? Self-practice time. And sometimes the self-practice time got this personal interview session. So in so-called my retreat, it's not a compulsory interview. Those who really so-called need to clarify some maybe doubts or personal thing you want to share or whatever, then it has a personal interview. But if you can ask them publicly, by all means, you can rephrase the question into a third person question. You don't say I experienced, you can say what if this person experienced this, if you don't want to paise, right? And then you can rephrase the question, nothing personal. Okay, so it will be better because if you ask openly, then you might benefit more people, because sometimes some people have the same problem. Then I answer at one go, right? Then you kind of solve for few people. Okay, so there's a few kind of things we're going through for this opening. Okay, so the 8 precepts kind of fulfill we call it the right speech, right action, right livelihood, right? So this is the Noble Eightfold Path. But throughout the whole session, I'll be nagging you all a few things. First is our intention. Our intention here must be correct, right? Is to cultivate, to overcome or to reduce certain kind of craving, to find peace. So that is more or less kind of the agenda. Some people come with other kinds of reason, other kind of motive. They want to come here to learn, to predict 4D numbers in future. So they have all these kind of other reason, or come here to learn how to see ghosts and that kind of stuff. So no, we're not doing that. It's more on in line with the Four Noble Truth. And the thing that I'm going to emphasize a lot is on right thought. Right thought. Why right thought? Okay. Anybody know the second noble truth? Nobody. Second noble truth. Huh? Second noble truth. Cause of suffering, yes. And what is the definition of cause of suffering? Or what is defined by the cause of suffering? Craving, okay, what kind of craving? Sensual pleasure, okay. How many types of craving? Huh? 8 ah? Okay, can name. Okay, so mainly we simplify. We say craving as greed and anger. Greed and anger. Or if you want to be specific, you talk about the first teaching of the Buddha. There's this kama tanha, means craving for sensual pleasure, which is greed. Then there's a vibhava tanha, that means craving for annihilation. So we treat it as aversion. You want to get rid, you want to destroy. Then there's a bhava tanha, which is craving for eternalism, which is delusion. So these three will be present all the time. Even if you are calm and quiet, then people will, if let's say you don't want to do anything, very calm and very quiet, then high tendency for this bhava tanha. You like this status quo. You like to stay there forever. So that is a bhava tanha. So about 3 kinds of becoming. Bhava means becoming. Sensual becoming, form becoming, formless becoming. So if a person enters certain stillness or calmness, it might be form or formless kind of becoming. Or even if a person never enter concentration, never enter calmness, also have sensual becoming, sensual kind of craving, clinging, kind of delusion. For example, we want to live forever, or we don't want to get sick. We want to be healthy forever. Something like this, along these lines. So we want things to be permanent, to have the status quo forever. So these are the 3 kinds of craving. So the right thought, anybody know right thought, the definition of right thought? Anything? Right thought, what's the definition of right thought? Samadhi is right view, right view. Yeah, okay. Right thought, this Samma Sankappo, is actually 3 things. Thoughts of non-greed, thoughts of non-anger, and thoughts of harmlessness. So basically it's like the opposite of craving. Exactly opposite of craving. So that is right thought. So when you generate right thought, you are actually counteracting craving. So in our routine, we will emphasize a lot on right thought. Emphasize a lot on right thought. So there are 2 phases. Okay, thank you. I do not know where to put it. Okay, here. So we'll emphasize a lot on right thought. So for example, thoughts of loving kindness is to overcome what? Hatred, So we overcome the craving of anger with loving kindness. And usually the second phase we do is think of impermanence to overcome greed and certain delusion. So impermanence can kind of counteract both. So there are 3 meditation objects I introduced earlier. It comes from this sutta. Okay, Meghiya Sutta is a story of a monk who is attending to the Buddha. They were walking along a journey, and they walked past the forest. So this monk was thinking, Buddha encouraged people to meditate solitude in the forest. Who have this idea? Must meditate solitude. Meditate in a cave, meditate in the forest, nobody. Or like group sitting. Okay. Not totally wrong. You like group sitting. So this monk requests from the Buddha, there's a beautiful forest nearby. Can I go for retreat alone? And the Buddha rejected his request. Buddha said, no, wait for more people, more monks to join you and meditate together. He said, why? For the second time, well, Buddha, can I go to forest and meditate alone? Then the Buddha said, no. For the third time, he requests. Then usually after the third time, then Buddha is, okay, you do what you want. So he asked the fellow to do what he want. So this Meghiya went to the forest and meditate alone. Then he think, okay, so now I'm alone, I can improve. I can meditate and improve in my meditation. So it's a new monk, so new, then like no kung fu one. So in the forest, what will happen? Weather change. So got rain, got hot weather. When too hot, complain. Too wet, complain. Too cold, complain. Insects come, complain. So cannot find peace. Cannot meditate, full of greed and anger all the time. All the time, greed and anger. So cannot calm down the mind. No technique, no skill. So he went back to the Buddha and told the Buddha what happened. You cannot meditate. And the Buddha said, I see, I told you not to, not to go. So usually, if let's say person is still kind of immature in their spiritual practice, it's important to have spiritual friends or spiritual peer support. People who are like practicing together. Then you can discuss, talk about the Dhamma or talk about the precepts. Is this retreat noble silence? But if there's a need to talk, please talk. Like for example, ask for any question or noble silent one to ask. If there's a need to talk, please talk. We go in line with right speech. If it's necessity, like if you want to pass some item or no, you need to coordinate and do some duties, please talk. Need to communicate. Okay. So we have these few things in mind. Talk about for example, how to apply your precepts in daily life and stuff like that. So this will help you to get some kind of maturity, spiritual maturity. So if you mix around with gamblers or mix around with drug addicts, then your life is just talking about all those things only, right? So your life will be ruined. But if you come and always talk about wholesome content, spiritual content, then your life will be geared towards that direction. Okay, so after having some foundation, then we can talk about meditation. So meditation is not like straight away for beginners. So you need some foundation first. Okay, so few things. First one is the impurities of the body meditation. So this one is to kind of reduce some craving, some lust, some greed. So that's the purpose of the meditation. Then the other meditation object is to overcome anger, loving kindness, goodwill, to overcome aversion. And the third one is the breath meditation to unify the mind. And the fourth one is to reflect on impermanence, inconstancy. So I use the term impermanence, can mean rising, falling, can mean inconstant, anicca basically. So different translation, but more or less the same meaning. Okay, so the whole idea is to remove the delusion, the ego and the selfishness and whatever not. Okay, so that's more or less the framework of what we are going to do throughout the whole retreat. So we are not doing any of those stuff. Again, intention, we are here to overcome suffering and craving. So some things may overcome certain suffering. It's a short-term thing. By the moment of death, no, we have to practice the real detachment to have this real inner peace. Okay, so we're not doing any of those, like this aura reading, lao, this chakra, we're not doing. This qigong and iron jacket, we're not. It's not way of the dragon. It's not Shaolin Kung Fu. Okay, so there are many meditation objects, many ways and paths to reach the truth. We are not going to go through all of them. We are just doing a few. Okay, so all these styles, again, there are many variations of doing it because there are so many schools, so many traditions, so many different teachers teaching different methods. So even I'm kind of teaching my so-called style. So if you are not clear, please ask. Yeah, please ask. Because sometimes certain instruction from certain so-called other styles may be a bit incompatible. For example, like the loving kindness that we're going to do is to wish all beings well and happy straight away. Maybe some other system is to wish yourself first, and wish your loved one, and neutral party, something like that. So for my routine, I won't be doing that. Do not categorize. There's a reason for it. So I'll explain it in the next lesson. So there's a rationale for that. Okay. So this is for those attending meditation course. But you eat what is necessary in moderation for yourself to last throughout the whole day. Yeah. So now we're talking about precept. Who have been constantly taking 5 precepts? Who never taken 5 precepts before? All taken. Okay, so one of the precepts, the third precept, has changed to from this Kamesu Michachara, changed to Brahmacharya. So instead of being faithful to your spouse, so in a temple setting, no sexual activity. Even if you're a couple, no sexual activity. So this is temple setting. Okay, so Brahmacharya, no sexual intercourse at all. Okay, then not eating after noontime. Not eating after noontime. So the lunch timing here in this temple is 11:30, right? 11:30. And the breakfast time is about 7 a.m. 7 a.m., correct? 7, yeah. So these are the two timings to look out for. I think you have the timetable. So I think tomorrow onwards, then there will be the morning chanting. We'll start off. If the abbot is here, he will be the one leading. If he's still not here, I'll try to substitute and see what I can do. So for the yes, we follow the timetable. Yeah, we follow the timetable. So I'll just see what can chant. For those taking medication, anybody had taking medication here? Okay, so in the afternoon or in the evening, if you really need to take some edible items so that it can go along with your medication, please look for anybody familiar with the kitchen really? Yeah, okay. So if you're familiar with the kitchen, look for, Suzanne, the organizer. She'll tell you what is allowable to makan, what is not allowable to makan. Then very safe. So you won't starve to death. Don't worry, won't starve to death. Even for those not taking medication, there is afternoon time allowable. So this afternoon time, they are considered medicine because in the ancient days, maybe they have, I don't know, Ayurveda kind of medical kind of treatment. So there are certain herbs or certain edible items they classify as medicine, like ghee, honey, sugar, molasses, and stuff like that. So it varies from tradition to tradition. Some tradition consider as food, some tradition consider as medicine. So we just follow with this temple. Whatever this temple say allowable, then we makan. So the idea of this medicine It's called a medicine. For example, some people have low blood sugar level or have gastric problem. And then you take a bit of this sweet stuff like honey or whatever to help you overcome a certain illness. But if let's say a person abuse the medicine, the whole day munching the medicine, then instead of medicine becomes poison, becomes toxic. Like I know of some so-called monks, they claim to be eating one meal a day or claim to be fasting. Sometimes they don't even come out for meal. But then the whole afternoon they munching all those stuff. Or have like a bowl of salad, herbs, then they put a lot of honey, put a lot of cheese and everything, then they makan and makan. So then they got high blood pressure, got diabetes. Then tell I fasting, still got diabetes. What in the afternoon. So please don't abuse. So this is medicine. So there's a reason they call it medicine. Then the next one. Okay, so no entertainment, no dancing, singing, music, watching any kind of entertainment, jewelry, perfume. So this place should be quite. If you have white attire, ideally try to wear majority white. Majority white to practice simplicity. To practice simplicity. Okay, then. Refrain from high baits. We'll just use whatever the baiting provide, so don't have to worry. Okay, so that's more or less about it. Any questions? Okay, so the idea of observing this precept is not to just restrict our movement only. There is a mental training behind this. So there's a reason why it's in line with this Eightfold Path. Right? You cannot have right speech and all the right action and right livelihood without right understanding and right thought. If precepts were to be just not doing these items, not doing all these things, then any coma patient in a hospital can have perfect precepts. Coma patient on life support, they cannot do anything. They just all the tubes stuck onto them. You can give them 1,000 precepts. You can give them 1 million precepts. No problem. They can hold all of them. They cannot talk. No, they cannot do anything. So that's not the idea of the precept. Right? So the idea of the precept is to train us, to train our mind, basically. It's a tool to train our mind. So the idea of so-called breaking the precept, conditions of breaking the precept first is intention. Like any of the precept. For example, stealing. There must be an intention. I see the cup very nice. I like the cup. I want it. So I have the intention to steal. Then the next thing is the perception. Whether is it a valuable item or not. So that's the intention of mind. And the third one is execution. That means you go ahead and try to take the item. You try to take the item. And the fourth is the result. You've taken the item. Right? So if you commit all these, then consider breaking the precept. So if we train right thought, we do not have any thoughts of greed or thoughts of anger, then shouldn't be problem. Any of the precepts shouldn't be a problem. So it's important to train up our intention. Before we do anything, check our intention. Okay, so that's the idea of the precept, is to train our mind. So very short way of putting it. Any questions at the moment? No? Okay, then we move on to the meditation. Okay, so sitting posture. for those who are new, but I think everybody meditated before. So some recommendation. If you are seated on a chair, then it's okay. If you do not have any back problem, then ideally you kind of lean forward a bit for your formal meditation. But throughout the whole session, my emphasis is not on sitting. It's your whole day mindfulness actually. Whole day mindfulness. Because how long can you sit? How long can you sit? Versus the 24 hours, how long can you sit? How much good thoughts can you generate within the short time of sitting? Right? So the idea is to, yes, you have some formal sitting to do your R&D, then but throughout the whole day, when you're doing activities, that's the main time you're supposed to train your every moment encountering with all situations. So that's the real practice. Real practice. Okay, but never mind. Anyway, we just talk about sitting first. So the first one is this full lotus on the left bottom. Yeah? Anybody can do full lotus. Like the Buddha statue, do full lotus. Okay, if you cannot do full lotus, never mind. The benefit of full lotus, because all the feet touching the ground, right? The calf and the thigh touching the ground. So everything very evenly spread, the pressure, everything touching the ground, very stable. Sometimes don't even need cushion, don't even need the extra cushion for your backside. So that's the benefit of full lotus posture, very stable. Okay, but if you cannot do full lotus, never mind. Got this 50% discount. So we have this half lotus. Half lotus. Don't have to do full, do half. So like some people already doing half, so half is like one leg on top of the other, right? Half lotus. So half lotus, some of the issues is that you feel a bit lopsided, correct? One side on the ground, one knee on top of the air. So it's a bit lopsided. Then usually for half lotus onwards, if you're on the ground, you might need extra cushion to raise your backside. Because what we are aiming here, the laser pointer not working, never mind. What we are aiming here is to have, if I do a demonstration, is to have the torso, that means your body, and your feet, your thighs, 90-degree apart at least. So that's why you need this extra cushion to raise your backside. Because if you do not have, then it becomes like this, then become less than 90-degree, then everything cram up. All your organs, all your stomach, everything cram up. You feel very uncomfortable. So the idea of this so-called cushion is to raise your kind of body posture so that you can have more than 90 degrees. Okay, so half lotus onwards may need all the extra cushion to raise your backside. Okay, then if you still cannot do half lotus for whatever reason, we have more discount. So we have this Burmese style sitting. I call this the parallel parking. 1 feet in front, 1 feet behind. So this is you don't have to cross. So 1 feet in front, 1 feet behind. So that's the Burmese style. And if you still cannot do, then never mind. Then you sit normally. Some people sit normally because due to aging or whatever reason, you sit normally. But because you come to meditation class or meditation retreat, then people ask you, what position you sit? I sit normally. Sometimes you feel paiseh, then we change the name. We don't call this normal sitting. You learn from me. So you tell them you sit this full lotus inverted posture. Full lotus inverted posture. And full lotus is both feet on top, right? So normal sitting, both feet below. So inverted. So both full lotus inverted. And people will be wondering, what kind of yoga pose is this? Full lotus inverted. So never mind, only we know, full lotus inverted posture. So the whole idea first is to check the base is stable. And if you have done that, then whoever wants to sit on chair or stool is also fine. And make sure the base is stable. Then we move up to check the lower spine. Lower spine. So if you look at the top diagram, if you want, or ideally, you can tilt your lower spine maybe in front a bit, like 1 degree forward, or to the extent where your whole body will be naturally upright. There will be a certain position, the center of gravity will kind of make your whole body upright effortlessly. You don't need to have lots of maybe 6-pack core muscles or something. You just need the right center of gravity. Okay, so once you have kind of adjusted the angle, then we can check your shoulders. Shoulders. So for shoulders, basically is to place your hand. Where to place your hand to make sure you don't strain your shoulders. So you can find a stable spot. You can follow like the Buddha statue, put the hands here, or if some people want to put the hands on the knees, also fine, as long as it's stable. Huh? Like some Buddha statue got the hands touching the ground one. Then if usually that one will strain people's shoulders. So try not to touch the ground. Leave the hands on top of the lap. That will be good to not overstrain the shoulders. And for the neck posture, if you want, you can tuck in the chin a bit so that this will pull the spine, pull the neck spine, lengthen the spine. Not to tuck in too much and choke yourself, just a bit. And also for the mouth, inside the mouth, if you want, for the tongue, the tip of the tongue can touch the upper palate of your mouth. That means behind the upper row of the teeth. This is for those who salivate a lot. So the tongue will act as a dam to block out the saliva. If not, some people sit halfway and keep coughing and choking. Saliva problem. So that's for those people. So these are just few options. You find your own comfortable sitting. And once you're kind of comfortable, then we have a short kind of like introductory meditation routine for you to practice for the first day. So for the first day, what we're going to do is familiarize yourself with the sensations of the body. Familiarize yourself with the sensations of the body. So we call this the mindfulness of the 4 elements. Mindfulness of the 4 elements. So the 4 elements are the earth, fire, wind, water elements. Nothing magical about them. So earth element represents any hard or soft sensation. Fire element represents the temperature, hot and cold. Wind is any kind of movement. And water is the moist or dry sensations. Moist or dry sensations. So all these sensations are happening all the time. Whether you breathe in, breathe out, all these are there. Whether you want to feel the abdomen, whether you want to feel the whole body, all these are there all the time. In fact, we believe the whole universe is made of the 4 elements. So that's at least the pre-Buddhist concept. All the universe made of the elements, not the periodic table elements. So the idea is to first make peace. Make peace with these sensations. Whatever we feel, if it gets uncomfortable, for example, it's an unpleasant sensation, unpleasant feeling, the mind usually will react with anger, right? But if it's pleasant, it's nice, very short, then the mind will react with greed. You want some more. So these are the 2 extremes you're trying to avoid. So you walk the middle path. But it's not easy to say, I don't want to have the 2 and just walk and just avoid the 2 and that's it. You need to have a technique to realign yourself to the middle path. So first, we are going to think of loving kindness. So whatever sensation you feel, we need to label that sensation well and happy. Well and happy. So you make peace with the sensation, huh? Wish the sensations well and happy. So no need to control the sensation. Let it arise naturally by itself. Whatever obvious sensation you may detect, we are just going to make peace with them, wish them well and happy. New sensation appear, well and happy. New sensation appear, well and happy. So the evidence, the sensation, we call this mindfulness of the body. And the thoughts, the labeling that you have, we call it right thought. And the repetition, we call it right effort. That means you don't think one time and stop. Yeah? That means the whole idea is to keep thinking. Never leave the mind autopilot. Don't let the mind daydream and do nothing. Because once you do nothing, the mind will naturally cling on to some other thoughts, will naturally daydream. So always intentionally generate right thought, wish it well and happy, keep thinking. So the more we keep on wishing the sensations well and happy, we're actually fulfilling the fourth noble truth, which is the path leading to the end of suffering. And if we are kind of making some progress in doing that, wishing the sensation well and happy, don't let the mind drift off, then it will be indicated by the third noble truth. The mind should be able to calm down, any tension should reduce, any anxiety should reduce. So we call this the skillful way of reducing craving, or reducing stress. There is also a not so skillful way of reducing stress, which is to fall asleep. So if you, let's say, don't do anything, that's the recipe that before we go to sleep, that's what we do, right? We don't do anything, then we'll fall asleep. So if you don't do anything, there's a high chance of daydreaming. So every moment need to wish the sensations well and happy, new sensation appear, well and happy. So the mind is calming down means you're on the right track. If the mind is getting more anxiety, more tension, that means there is some other kind of craving, other kind of expectation. Is the session over? Is the lunch ready? Some other kinds of expectation, right? So you have generating craving and tension. So that's the first and second noble truth. So for this point, this phase, our challenge is to see how far can the mind settle down. It means keep on wishing the sensations well and happy, and we're slowly transforming the mind with some aversion to a mind with lesser aversion. So there will be a point of time where this settling becomes negligible. The rate of settling is negligible. That means you have already kind of calmed the mind to your current maximum level. So you keep turning the Dhamma wheel, wishing the sensations well and happy. Okay, and once the mind is quite settled down, or you find the mind is relatively stable and calm, then we can call this the baseline emotion. So it's a neutral state, no concentration, no insight at this point. And now we are going to wish all beings in all directions well and happy, above, below, and all across all directions. So there's no need to push the mind. We let it extend naturally by itself. However far it wishes to extend doesn't matter. So you just make gentle wish and the mind will kind of extend. So the whole idea is not to create any boundaries, no resistance, no boundaries. And in that widened sphere of attention, we are going to perceive all beings as the four elements. Huh? So in this routine, we try not to visualize. We perceive all beings non-discriminately. We use the four elements. So whatever sensation appear, we are going to wish all beings well and happy. So the labeling is important, to wish all beings well and happy. And we kind of synchronize with the evidence, with the sensations. Doesn't matter if the sensations are inside the body or outside the body, as long as it detects something, then we wish all beings well and happy. If sensation appear, all beings well and happy. If sensation appear, all beings well and happy. And the more we wish all beings well and happy, we see how far can the mind calm down, or is there any change in the state of mind or change in the emotion compared to the neutral baseline emotion from earlier. And regardless of what happened, keep on wishing all beings well and happy. Okay, so this is the samatha aspect of the loving kindness to give the mind some calm, some recharge. And if you want, you can switch to the vipassana mode. So the insight phase of this loving kindness is to change the labeling to impermanence. Instead of wishing all beings well and happy, whatever sensation you detect, you change the label to impermanence. You can call it rising and falling, you call it inconstant, anicca, change, whatever that you like, and just keep repeating. Okay, so this will be the two set of instructions, and whatever activity you do, standing, sitting, walking, lying down, you can be either mindful of this loving kindness or mindful of this impermanence. Yeah? So with that, we can gently open our eyes, formally end the session due to time constraint, and even though we're not formally meditating, informally we still can generate right thought. And with that, we shall conclude